Okay, so welcome to the Kirby Stephen Gazette spreadsheet. So if you remember, we started off with these costs here. Okay, so we've got the number one is the full page, £560, yada yada yada. Okay, first thing we needed to do is, once we've got those, is highlight the cells. So that's from A2 right through to C6, and in this little box here we're going to call it prices. So I'm going to type in prices with a capital R and then press enter. You must press enter. Okay, this is a really important step to do, because when we do the Vlookup, it won't work if we've not given it this part of the spreadsheet. These cells a name, which is prices. So I'm going to go back to quotes now. Okay, the first thing we did was, as I recall, sticking in a checkbox to see whether or not we wanted the advertisement to be colour. Okay, and we did that in cell E11. Okay, so in this box here we want a checkbox that says colour. So we go up to the developer tab, click on the insert, and we just want that little one with the tick, and then we just draw it over cell E11, and there it is. Now if I click into it, I can delete that text and I can write colour. Okay, and now it says colour. What I want to do is say, if that box is checked, I want the answer to come into this cell here, which is F11. So if I do a right click again, and again, this is a problem you had, John, that when I did this initially, it's just come up with those. Just move the cursor slightly to the left, and if we keep doing it, eventually we'll get to the format control. And in there, I just want to tell it to be in F11. Click OK. So now when I check the box in F11, it says true, and if I uncheck the box, it now says false. From here, what we want to do is add a couple, well, we want to add 3 option buttons. So again, I go to the insert and I click on the little option button, which is this round thing here. And I'm just going to draw it into this cell. Okay, and I'm going to alter the text so it says front page, now when I've done that, if I right click on it and then go to format control, I want that cell to be like, in this case, I want it to be in F15. Okay, I've just realised I've moved that's in the wrong place entirely, so I'm just going to move that up. Okay, so it's in the right place. There's front page. I'm going to add another one of those, and I'm going to call this back page. And now if I don't need to tell it which cell to link to, because all these options are all going to link to this cell. So if I click on that now, you see that's changed to 2. Okay, so there it's changing, and then obviously we want the final one, which is an inside pages. So I'm going to click on that again, draw it here, and then I'm going to call this one inside pages. And now if I check that box, it should come as a 3. So we've got 1, 2, and a 3. Yep. So we can see that that's all working for us. And I'm now going to stick in the, what should I do now? The spinner. Shall we put the spinner in? So I'm going to go to the insert here, and I'm going to put this little spinner. Okay, and I'm going to stick it in those cells there. And then if I right click on it and go to the format control, I think I'm going to have the result in, I said in F19, but I think I'm going to choose G19 because it's going to look more aesthetically pleasing. So I'm going to say I want the results to go into G19, and I want the minimum value to be 1, and I want the maximum value to be 26. Okay, so it's 1 week is the minimum, 26 is the maximum, and then click OK, and that's going to go there. And then we can test that that's working by clicking on the up and down, and you can see that I can't go any lower than 1. And finally, we are going to stick in here this little combo box. So I'm just going to do that on that cell there. Now what we need to do is tell it what cells it's looking for. Okay, so if we go onto the right click and format control, if I click into the box, input range, I click on prices, and I just wanted to say those names. Yep. And now I want those names, well, the number of them 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 to go into cell F9. Okay, so I'm going to write F9 and click OK. So now when I drop that down, click on F9, sorry, I can see in F9 at 1 or a 2 or a 3. It's just numbering them in the order that we gave it to them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and this is where we do the Vlookup. Okay, I'm going to go choose the Vlookup is equals Vlookup, and then it wants me to look up this cell, so number 1 in the ones that are called prices, and I want the third column because that's got the actual figures in it, the actual mathematical figures, the amount that it's going to cost. So that's in column 3. I'm going to close that bracket, and now because we've chosen 1, it says 560. So if we go here, 560, full page is 560. Okay, quarter and 8th page is 85. So go to 8th page, 85. So we can see that that's working. Okay, and we want to do an if statement here. So we're saying equals if, and then we have to put a bracket in, that cell equals true. Then we want to times it by, I think it was 1.3, wasn't it? So it's 30% more expensive to get a colour page. So if it's true, then it's 1.3. Otherwise, it's a 1. And we close that bracket. Press enter. Yep. Now, if we click on the colour, that'll change to 1.3. There we are. Because we're going to multiply this figure by all these different numbers. Now, when we came to this, whether we want the front page or the back page, this is where we did what we call the nested if statement. Okay, so we've got a couple of different options here. So it's asking us, so if that cell is number 1, equals to 1, if that cell is equals to 1, then it's going to be 50% more expensive. So that's a 1.5. Comma. But if it isn't, and it's equals to 2, then it's going to be a 1.4. Slightly cheaper to be on the back page. Otherwise, the default value is 1. It's just going to be a 1. If it's not, if that number isn't 1 or 2, and in this case it's 3, then the only result we want it to say is a number 1. And I need to close the brackets twice. Okay, so I'm going to go back over that again. So equals if this cell is equal to 1, then it's going to cost us 1.5 more. It's going to cost us 50% more. If that cell equals a 2, then it's going to cost us 1.4, so just slightly cheaper. But if it isn't, it's just going to cost us 1. 2 brackets to close it, and there you go. So if I click on the back page, that becomes 1.4. If I click on the front page, that becomes 1.5. And here we can put total. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say I want to multiply the cost by whether it's colour or not, by whether it's a front, back or inside page, and finally I want to multiply it by the number of weeks. Okay, if I press enter, okay, if I take off the colour and I choose the inside page, it's the very cheapest, it's £85, £85 here. I add colour, it's going to add an extra 30%, which makes £110.50. And again, if I choose the full page and if I increase the number of weeks, we can see that that figure doubles. Okay, so if we go back to the very cheapest one there is, a 12th of a page, 60, and then I double that, so if I say 2 weeks, it should come up with 120. So we know that that's working. Yep. And what I also said was, if you remember, if I highlight these cells and then just turn the writing white, then we can't see the magic that's happening. Okay, we just made the change and it's just going to do that for us. Okay, feel free to email me if you have any questions about this, or if you do need to keep going back over it. Obviously, because it's on YouTube, you can stop and start, it's not a problem. And John's favourite was equals today, open and close brackets, and that'll give us today's date as we're doing it. So that was today's lesson.